The Archdiocese of Chicago is a vibrant and diverse faith community. We celebrate our faith through worship, evangelization, and reaching out to the needy. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Welcome to Diakonia. I'm Deacon Jim Norman, Vicar for Deacons for the Archdiocese of Chicago. Honored to serve at Our Lady of Sorrows Basilica on the west side of Chicago. This is Diakonia, a call to service. Diakonia is the Greek word for service and also the root word for deacons. We come together to discuss the call for service, the call to all of us as baptized Catholics, speaking to those who are committed to service. I'm here with my co-host, Deacon Dave Brensick, who is the Associate Director for the Permanent Diaconate and serves at Holy Guardian Angels in Brookfield. How are you this morning, Dave?
Very well, Jim. Yourself?
I'm well. Delighted and excited to have with us today Deacon Conrad Wojner to discuss his ministry as a deacon and his work with the Women's Center. And his most recent book, The Women's Center, The Miracle on Cicero Avenue. Deacon Conrad, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much.
Wonderful.
How are you?
Wonderful. I think Dave was going to ask some initial questions to have our audience get to know you and your ministry a bit better.
Welcome,
Okay.
Conrad. Thank you for joining us today. So,
Thank you for having me.
if you could please just start out with telling us a little bit about yourself, your when we ordained, the parish you're at.
Yeah, I was ordained only in 2018. I'm kind of a late vocation because I was already 65 at the time I was ordained, but then I kind of led a busy life. I'm the father of 7 children, and I have 9 grandchildren now. And so that plus all the other things I was involved in ministry in the Women's Center and in raising my family kind of pushed off my decision to finally become a deacon, which I had on my mind for many years. I am serving at Mary Mother of Martyrs Church in Des Plaines, which is the combined parish of St. Stephen's and St. Mary's. And I've been doing that since the time I was ordained.
And what are some of the ministries you're involved with, Conrad?
Well, I do a lot of baptisms. I probably baptized over 200 children in my 6 years. I do baptismal prep. I do marriage intake. I am involved in catechetical ministry in the parish. I've taught catechism sessions, and I've also done formation sessions for parents who are involved in catechesis and for the catechists themselves. And of course, I'm involved in the usual things. I help at funerals, wakes, committals. I've actually performed several weddings. And so I've been quite busy, actually, over the last 6 years.
Sounds like you are a busy guy.
And Conrad, could you tell us a little bit about your professional career?
Well, I had a sort of a strange professional career because I started out of college teaching high school and at De La Salle Institute on the South Side. And that was back in 1973. And I always joke that I took a 30-year break to do other things, and then came back to teaching after that. But part of the other things I did in the meantime was I worked for the Social Security Administration in various capacities for 10 years. And then I founded the Women's Center, which is a pro-life outreach crisis pregnancy center. And I was the executive director there for 20 years until I stepped back and went back into teaching for another 15 years. And then during those years, I taught at various mostly parish grade schools at St. Mary's in Buffalo Grove, St. Giles in Oak Park, Northridge Prep in Niles, and Pope Francis Global Academy. And I was kind of forced into retirement as a result of COVID, as many people, ended up in strange situations about that time. But that was all for the best because I was so busy around the parish
Sure.
and back doing stuff at the Women's Center.
Now, you made mention of the Women's Center. Tell us a bit more about that. How did that get started?
So I founded the Women's Center in 1984. I first founded a predecessor organization called Displays Pro-Life that was intended to be a coalition of parish pro-life groups in Des Plaines, for educational purposes. But then we were convinced to open a crisis pregnancy center across from a busy abortion clinic on the northwest side of Chicago in 1984. And so without any kind of real experience in doing this sort of thing or money or background, I followed the lead of the Holy Spirit and just jumped right into that.
Conrad, for some of our audience, you said Crisis Pregnancy Center. Tell us what exactly is a Crisis Pregnancy Center?
Well, we live in strange times because the prevailing narrative out in society is that when a woman is pregnant and it's an unexpected pregnancy or a difficult situation or bad timing or whatever it is, or just as the case may be that so-called the birth control didn't work, her solution is she's told that her only solution is to go out and have an abortion to kill the child within her. And we found out early on, or rather the pro-life movement, people who were involved in crisis pregnancy centers, that most women really don't want to do that. They just are looking for a way out of that. And sometimes that way out is not readily available because there's no one there for them. There's no alternative place where they can call, where they can talk to. Sometimes they even are so convinced by the time they started to talk to us about their situation that they needed to have an abortion, that it takes a little bit of doing to bring them back to reality, to realize what they are about to do and that there are alternative solutions. But we found early on that up to 70% of the women who came to us, who initially were looking to have an abortion, changed their minds and chose life instead for their children. Now, some of those needed assistance, so we also worked very hard to put together a resource center so that we would have the resources to give them the food and clothing and baby items and referrals and everything else that they needed, to make their journey more smooth. But a lot of them, all they really needed is that little bit of push there to say that, oh, this is not a good idea. And we find that they didn't even really need a lot of help on an ongoing basis. So over the years, because of our very successful ad campaigns and our outreach programs, we estimate that we've saved about 40,000 babies from abortion over the last 40 years.
Wonderful. Cool. How many people do you normally see, like on a weekly basis, or does it fluctuate?
Well, here, when we get into the current day, it gets a little bit dicier. Back in the day, in the first 20 to 30 years of the organization, we were seeing about 2,000 plus women a year, probably closer to 2,500 in our heyday. And of course, again, those statistics that I just quoted, are relevant to that. The problem that we're having nowadays is that our numbers are significantly down because we're dealing with an entirely different paradigm as far as trying to reach the women that we were successful in reaching in the past. For instance, we heavily relied on Yellow Pages advertising to go head to head with the abortion clinics that were spending a lot of money advertising, for their wares. And that was an effective tool at that time because that's where a lot of people went who didn't want anybody else to know that they were looking for an abortion. They said, oh, well, I'll look in the Yellow Pages under abortion and find something. And so we were seeing numerous clients. As you probably well know, the Yellow Pages is not a big thing nowadays. It has kind of decreased dramatically as a result of all the internet capabilities. The problem with the internet is significantly more complicated because in addition to the fact that we have to compete with paradigms and all of this business of trying to have your center or your ministry come up above those of the abortionists and of other bad players. We have the problem with Google and a lot of the other internet providers trying to actually exclude us because of their pro-abortion bias. So it's becoming more and more complicated on how to go about reaching women, and our numbers have been declining. That's not to say that we're giving up in the least bit, because we have just been doing a lot of research, and we plan to do things, for instance, in the future, such as going back to some more traditional advertising like billboards and pamphlets and reaching women at the university level or places where they're more likely to be able to see our advertising, and also figure out how we can beat the paradigms if that's possible. The algorithms that are being calculated against us by the big internet players.
How large of a area does your center cover?
In terms of what, geography or of the
yes.
center itself?
The geography.
Okay. So our center covers well, we will help anyone, any place. Realistically, physically, we cover anybody in the Chicago area. There are other crisis pregnancy operations, some of them Catholic and some not Catholic, in various areas in the Chicago area. And we, of course, we're not in competition with those people. We work collaboratively as much as possible. Realistically, we cover the city of Chicago and the nearby suburbs at this point. We have our large headquarters center, which is basically like, I forget how many square feet it is, but we're on three large floors, where we not only have our counseling center, but we have a Eucharistic chapel there, and we have a resource center where we have all our items that we give to needy families. And we also have our resource center that we use for fundraising events and fundraising projects and volunteer participation. So that is our big center. And then our other big office is down in Evergreen Park at 97th and Western, which covers a good part of the south side of the Chicago area. And that's principally just a counseling center. And in conjunction with that, there's a resource center out in the south suburbs that we use, to provide for the needs of people who live out in that direction.
Mm-hmm. We'll take a break here, and then we come back. I'd like to just kind of have you catalog the services at the 3 different centers, and maybe if you could talk about how those services have expanded over the years. So we'll come back from break and we'll talk about the services of the Women's Center.
All right, thank you.
Not to be served, but to serve, to give my life, if you wish, to be the first you must see, to be a servant, to be a servant of all.
Catholic Charities Golf Classic is teeing up to be a fabulous event this summer. Join us on Monday, July 15 at Knollwood Club in Lake Forest and Shore Acres in Lake Bluff, 2 premier courses in Chicago. Proceeds from this outing will support Catholic Charities programs and services in Cook and Lake counties. Last year, we served more than 400,000 people, improving lives and nourishing spirits through their difficult times. Gather your foursome, or just join us for the spectacular dinner following the tournament. Catholic Charities Golf Classic is always a highlight of summer in Chicago. Come and experience this signature event for yourself. To learn more and register for the Catholic Charities Golf Classic on July 15, call 312-948-6864. That's 312-948-6864. Or visit CatholicCharities.net.
This is year 44 for me teaching. When I started here, there were teachers here that had taught me when I was a student. Now I'm the old person. Right now, I teach junior high math. I love when kids find what I'm teaching to be fun and they get it. I see that light bulb go off and it's a thrill. People are always amazed. What? You're here for 44 years? It's hard for me to believe, frankly. I love what I do. Every summer I think, oh, I miss the classroom. Even on the weekends, I think I can't wait to get back on Monday and teach those quadratic equations.
Shape the next generation of leaders. Teach. Apply today at archchicago.org/schooljobs.
Or at my land is not for me to give, but for those for whom it has.
Welcome back to Diakonia. This is Deacon Jim Norman here with Associate Director Deacon Dave Brinsick as a co-host, and our guest today is Deacon Conrad Wojner, who's discussing the Women's Center. His recent book, The Miracle on Cicero Avenue, talking about the Crisis Pregnancy Center. Conrad, before break, we were saying we'd like to have you list the services that are provided by the Women's Center today. You mentioned 3 locations, but if you could just run through the services that are provided.
Okay, so, our primary mission and our primary objective is to reach women who are seeking abortions or who are pregnant and who are in difficult circumstances where they might be abortion vulnerable or in need of assistance, and to counsel them with alternatives. So with that respect, we have trained counselors at our locations that will talk to women in those circumstances and either try to bring them down from the idea of having an abortion and steer them towards other positive alternatives, or if they're already have rejected that, to help them in any way that we can to achieve what they need within the community to help them to get all the resources that they need. And as I said, we have a certain number of our own resources. One thing that we do have that has been more recent in the last 15, 20 years or so is that our locations have ultrasonography. So we're able to show the young lady or the woman a picture of her unborn child at whatever gestational age it is. And it's stunning the way that ultrasonography has progressed. I used to be opposed to using it back in the 90s because it was very fuzzy and really didn't seem to prove much. But it can really help a person, a woman, and even the father, in many cases, identify with that unborn child within her, because it's so clear and so obvious what is going on over there, that it's not just that proverbial clump of tissues that the pro-abortion people want us to think that it is. So those are our primary services. We do a lot of referral services. We work diligently with women to take care of whatever other needs they have. We don't have our own housing facilities, but we work with other organizations that do provide housing, and we make sure that housing is not an issue. There are situations where there's abuse taking place in the relationship, and we try to make sure that that is addressed, either that the woman is able to get away from that abusive relationship and into a safe environment, or or some other suitable arrangement or counseling takes place so that pressure is taken off. We work with a network of doctors who help out in terms of providing ongoing care, and especially in situations where the woman doesn't have insurance or has issues regarding the ability to pay for prenatal care or childbirth. So all of those are referral things that we work with. And again, a lot of it is knowing what to do, because a woman in a difficult situation, especially in one in which there is so much sometimes perceived shame or difficulty or agony because of the unexpectedness of what has happened, she needs somebody to go to bat for her, to come up and say, I know what resources you need. These are things that you might be able to use. Let's see what we can work out for you in your particular circumstance. We also do ongoing, like I said, ongoing counseling throughout the pregnancy where needed. If we try to stay in touch with women up through the end of the pregnancy and beyond. In fact, for many years, we have our famous Christmas parties where we gather the women who've given birth or who are about to give birth during the past year that we've dealt with them. And we give them a meal, Christmas presents, and an opportunity for a picture with Santa Claus and all of this. And as I said, in our heyday, we were doing like 2,000 people each Christmas at two locations, at parish halls on the north and south side of Chicago. We also do post-abortion counseling where needed. We find an interesting phenomenon, and this is something that I think is the unknown quotient as to what our statistics really mean, because even a lot of women who have went ahead and had the abortion, we can't force anybody not to have an abortion. We don't badger her to death or whatever. We present the information, do the best we can, and then of course it's her decision. Even the women who went ahead and had an abortion oftentimes come back to us and say, wow, you were right. I really made a mistake here. And that has two positive effects. One is that she's not likely to have another abortion after that, and repeat abortions are quite common. And the second thing is that we're able to help her heal from that abortion, because, we're not about accusing women of anything. They are the innocent victims of the abortion establishment as much as many other people are, but as much as the unborn child is. But these people are told then that after they have the abortion, there's nothing to worry about. You know, you can just go out ahead and live your life as usual, and nothing is going to and you're going to be happy. And women often realize they're not, and they have this nagging feeling that something is wrong. You know, we've seen women who are still regretting abortions from 30, 40, even 50 years ago. And that's sad because it's an injustice that has been perpetrated against these women as well as against their children. But we try to bring them to post-abortion healing. We work with organizations, and we, if they're Catholic women, we try to get them to confession and feel the healing power of the sacrament of reconciliation. And you know, that goes a long way to helping those people as well.
Conrad, if someone wanted to help support the Women's Center, what's the best way to do that?
Well, okay, so you can go to gotwc.org is our website, and there are donation options available there. There's also, you can also call our administrative office, and there are various volunteer possibilities, both within parish functions that we try to organize to publicize the work of the Women's Center and to gain support and help. And also, you know, fundraising projects that we do there. And then we have people who come on site periodically who do things like stuff envelopes or work in organizing our resource center, or you know, other periodic things that come up that require some additional assistance.
Thank you. In the closing minute, I just wanted to reference again the book, Conrad, that you wrote, The Women's Center, The Miracle on Cicero Avenue, for any of our listeners or viewers who would like to pick up the book, and certainly for any of those who would like to donate. They can learn more about the organization by going to the website or perhaps making a donation. Conrad, we want to thank you for being our guest here. Thank you for the work that you have done. As you noted earlier, you estimate about 40,000 lives saved as a result of the work of the Women's Center. We thank you for that, for the work that you have done and the work that the center continues to do.
Okay, and thank you for the opportunity to let people know about this.
Thank you, Conrad. God bless your work.
God bless.
God bless you. Bye-bye now.
Cup that I must drink. Are you willing? Can you be baptized like I have been baptized?